I made a video like this last year, but I'm just going to make another one. Talk as quick and precise as possible. We call this one the Red Bull sled for obvious reasons. We call this one the Baraga sled. This is the cheater sled with the paddle track. A couple obvious things to note here. If you look at the width of the running boards here, I don't know what's different. You can get this style in MXZX configurations, and you can get it in some other configurations, but this is better where it's wider and it has this taper versus, let's move the battery here, junk everywhere, where this has just this cheese dick little taper of running boards. This is so much better for your feet. It comes just like that with the grip rail and the reinforcements. Stock to stock, this is better. But so far I can't answer another question, and that was the other frame. The Summit, my 600 Summit here that comes stock with the 136 track, it also has that same MXZX style floorboards or running boards. One thing I cannot answer on these older Skidoos, this series chassis has the adjustable height for this upper idler wheel, which you can see by putting in the lower hole, it makes the track go down. That's why it tips all the weight forward. That's why it kind of darts on the trail. That's why I'm putting double carbide skis on the front to try to tame that. But by pushing it down, you have more track in the snow. Deep track down lower means you can go in deeper snow lower and still have traction. It's simple math. This is easier because this comes straight from the factory. But all these is just angles built off of this. So it's not like you couldn't add on an extension piece to any sled, but I don't know why a lot of these don't have it. Or like this one kind of has it, but there's not a hole drilled. If we drilled a hole here, we could easily lower the track on this one just with 2 holes and fucking move in the bolts. The thing I really like about this sled on top of the wider running boards though, is this style steering shaft, where it has these knurled edges here, and everything. This riser is not stock, but the stock riser mounted the same way. What that does is you can adjust the handlebars forward or backwards just by loosening these bolts. What that does in leverage terms, you're not just steering off of the post like a T. Like this one's just literally a T post. I'll just pop this up. That has a little riser block in it too, but this is straight. You cannot adjust it. You cannot adjust your handlebars backwards or forwards. What I believe is happening here mechanically is the dual leverage of these bars being tipped a little bit forward creates leverage, not just left and right, but also forward and down. And it makes the steering on this sled feel like it has power steering, no bullshit. And then on top of this one, extra special case here, this one has a rev seat on it. That one has a stock 99 through 2003 seat. When you sit on this rev style seat that was modified to fit the older chassis, I think he just put a block of wood in here and then screwed it in with these bolts. When you sit on that seat versus the old seat, the trail ride is insane. So if we're talking cheater sled, to go from trail to Mount Bohemia and back on the trail and do everything the UP has for less than 3,000 bucks, double carbide skis. We want this steering rod with the knuckle, aftermarket block, maybe even the adjustable one, that we can move it forward, move it back, up and down to your liking, have all that leverage so it feels like power steering. We want the wider running boards, and we want the ability to either have it stock, adjustable height, or drill a hole, or we just simply put a fucking piece of angle iron here, and then clearly we need a 2-inch 121 paddle track. I will say this about the paddle track though. It would be fantastic if somehow the 121 paddle track could have studs. Not a shit ton, just a few. On icy trail conditions, a paddle track is like, woo, you can't stop. So I'm gonna look at ice rippers where the studs are built into the track. and see if there's something that, even if it's 1.5 inch paddle, you give up 1/2 inch of paddle but you get studs, that's kind of a pretty good trade-off. Or if you get the 2-inch paddle like that one and you got to get 2-inch studs, you can't do any burnouts with that, because a 2-inch long piece of metal sticking out of the track, that's gonna get fucking ripped off. I'm trying to look right here. No, this is a Polaris Slater model seat. Somewhere here there's a later style Rev model seat. Of course, my 04 Rev style isn't far away. Spud's just got it buried in shit. He's moving up here permanently, so he's getting out of his apartment. Whole garage is full of shit. Well, I thought I had a Rev style seat in here. You know the difference between the two. The old style seat right there versus a newer style Rev seat. I'm not gonna move all that shit. You know what it looks like. You guys know what it looks like. So that would be, if we're gonna build something ground up, and we actually have a few months to do it and a budget, that's what we want, is the jacked up track, 121. We gotta draw the line of, do you want the full 2-inch for deep snow, or do you want some ice traction for the trail as well? Dual carbide skis, so your front end doesn't dart with all the weight pushed forward due to it being jacked up. The Rev seat, and preferably a 700 or 600. Steer clear of the HO motor. You want a regular 02 or older 60 or 600, I mean, not the HO. The HO's had some ring issues. Any 700 is good to go. So that's my 2 cents. I'll make a better list later of all these parts.